So welcome everybody, welcome to Oeno Gallery. We have a very special presentation for you all today. I actually believe this is one of our first, we'll call it artists in residencies. And I've had the pleasure, we all have had the pleasure of working with SPLACES.STUDIO. To my left here is Khristina Ots, the curator of SPLACES.STUDIO. They are a collective of artists who work with art, technology, ecology, AI, and that all comes together in sculpture, essentially. I've had the pleasure of spending almost a week with Khristina now, learning all about how her sculptures work. Khristina is based out of Bulgaria. Her team is sort of all over Europe, from Malta, from Italy, and through their brilliant minds come together online and hopefully sometimes in person to come up with these beautiful installations that can be seen globally. This is SPLACES.STUDIO's debut in Canada, and we're very honored at Oeno Gallery to be their host. So, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Oeno Gallery. Thank you all for coming. So, my name is Khristina Ots, and I'm the curator. I've been working with media art mostly my whole career, and then I've started to work with what we call art, science, and technology. And I've been doing different exhibitions and educational programs, public programs dedicated to this synergy of how artists can work together with scientists. And in 2023, I was invited to this wonderful team of SPLACES.STUDIO to curate the studio, to kind of help to build concepts together with our creative team, with our artists, and also to navigate the art market a little, because I mostly act as a representative of the studio with other museums and art institutions and art galleries. And we're so excited to be here in Canada and to present two of our sculptures here. And I hope that later we will be able to go and see them in action. But today I want to talk more about how we work and to show you different projects and a little bit of our background, what philosophical background we have, what inspires us. And I will start with representing our team a little bit. So as I told, our studio works with art, science, and technology. And our team, our studio was founded by two people, Andy Shibanov and Ekaterina Chestikova, who kind of decided that it might be easier to create those interdisciplinary projects if we would have a whole team working together, a whole team of different professionals. And this is our team. We have 9 permanent members in the team, and I would say that we can divide them in 3 functional teams, like organization and management, obviously artistic and creative team, and technological research group, artists and programmers who kind of build new technologies and integrate them into sculptural works. We also frequently collaborate with different scientists. However, we don't have any in our permanent team. We usually source out their help once we get the idea of the project. So usually we start with a brainstorm within our artistic and creative team. And then once we have an idea, we go deeply into research and we invite scientists to join us and to help us, first of all, validate our kind of research problematics, but also to try and do together, like maybe to source some scientific data, and you'll see it in our projects later, or to build up new technological stacks that haven't been invented before. So our team, that's what I'm saying, is much wider than just 9 members, and basically it grows and grows with the new projects that we're doing. And throughout 2 years that we've been working, we have already had pleasure of working with, first of all, psychologists and physiologists. We started to work with them when we founded the studio because we were deeply interested in how light and sound can influence people, can influence our emotions, and we wanted to integrate this scientific approach to using light and sound in art in order for art to be kind of psychologically soothing, because we mostly work with public art and it kind of needs to be created with deep respect to people around it and to environment. However, with different projects, we also worked with ornithologists, dendrologists, general biologists, with meteorologists, and people who are helping us to gather more and more data about nature and to go deeply into the research. I just want to tell a couple of words of what art and science in general is, because I know that this is not widely known movement in art yet. So art and science, of course, this collide between art and science started long ago with the Renaissance and the idea of an artist as an encyclopedia, right? An artist who can gather both natural science and artistic research within one. But throughout the 20th century, this field kind of merged as a separate movement within art when artists started consciously to work with engineers and scientists, and they not only integrated their findings into the art, but also started to ask questions that usually are being asked by engineers and by scientific community. And within the last half of 20th century, many amazing artists emerged, and I just want to show a couple of projects that I still think are very up to date. So many of the artists in that period started to wonder, what can we do with the technology, how we can reinterpret it after these horrors of the Second World War, how we can see technology as not something military, but as something that can actually be integrated with nature. And this is what also really inspires us. And one of the artists that worked in this direction was Gordon Pask, an artist and an engineer who created for an exhibition, Cybernetic Serendipity, that took place in 1968 in London, in Contemporary Art Institute, created a project that was inspired by ideas of cybernetics. So there was this thinker who kind of created the field of cybernetics, Norbert Wiener. And his idea was that only if we start to merge technology with biological processes, and if we start to think of technology as a living organism, we can actually move forward with technological beings. And many of artists were trying to kind of integrate this thinking into their artistic projects. And what Gordon Pask did, he created this installation with a system of moving sculptures. It had two circles. One of the circle was external one, and it kind of represented female technology and like females. And it was this homage to Marcel Duchamp and all of his projects with optics and this interplay like in a big glass with female and male relationships, so it was kind of a joke. And inside there was a set of other sculptures that represented males. And what was pretty new for this piece of art, that those sculptures, their behavior was dependent only on the interplay of light between those sculptures. So artist didn't program it, but he created a system of feedback where internal circle had some lights inside installed, and the external circle had some sensors. And when one light would hit another sensor, the this dialogue between male and female sculpture would arise, and the whole system would start to act totally different. So he kind of created a idea of technology as a living organism and tried to think in this cybernetic way. How can we reimagine technology being alive? And another project takes different turn. It is a project that was created for Expo in Osaka in Japan, and it was created by the very famous American group EAT, Experiments in Art and Technology, that was founded by Robert Rauschenberg and Billy Kluver. And Billy Kluver was actually an engineer from Bell's lab. And together, they kind of created this amazing for the time collective that brought together engineers and artists, and they started to create this new field where many artists came from. Many of the sculptures created by Jean Tinguely were actually kind of created with the help of those engineers. Many of the experiments that Andy Warhol did were also created with the help of those engineers. But what is pretty amazing about this project is that they tried technologically to recreate nature, and we see this huge dome that is surrounded by fog, and this fog, maybe probably some of you recognize it, that this is the work of Fujiko Nakaya, an artist who works with fog, who created this idea of fog sculptures. But this was the first time when she created it. So by using water dispensers, artists and engineers created around this huge dome that fitted around several hundreds of people inside, this fog that represented technology, represented nature through technology. And within this dome, there was also kind of living environment, because while people were moving around, the behavior of sound and lights were changing inside this dome, which was fully mirrored. And actually, the building itself became kind of a living organism through technology and through artistic imagination. And those projects, they inspire us a lot, because we still kind of need to think, how can today in contemporary world art, technology and nature survive together? And another brief overview that I want to share before going to our project is a philosophical overview. So we probably all know now that many of the philosophers and scientists say that we live in a new era, which is called Anthropocene. This era, it is marked that the amount of influence of humans to the planet, that it actually became a geological force, right? Now we're changing not only certain territories, but we're changing nature on chemical level, we're changing geological matter, and we cannot think of nature anymore as of nature we used to think of nature, right? That is separated from people, that is separated from technology, and we need to think of some other idea of nature. However, because we're still pretty hanged up to this European Enlightenment ideas, we actually still see nature as it was proposed during the Enlightenment era, where we see that nature is just a collection of different species. And basically, this is a scientific idea, right? That by knowing one species in, I don't know, any kingdom of non-human beings, we can know the whole kingdom. And with the help of many contemporary philosophers who critiqued science a lot throughout the 20th century and now in the 21st century, we now know that nature kind of doesn't work that way, right? And it also helps science to reframe how scientifically we can try and see nature. And if we look at contemporary science, we see that more and more it's becoming interdisciplinary. It is no more just chemistry lab, biology lab. Most of the science now is very interdisciplinary and technology integrated. And this helps us to see this entanglement of life, this web of life, that we now, as a people of 21st century, kind of need to reinvent, because we're at this verge of ecological crisis where we need to find new pathways in our relationships with nature. It cannot be the old ways anymore. And in this sense, we are very inspired by the ideas of, one second, it's not anymore, I think, right? Yeah. By the ideas of Rosi Braidotti, who proposed an idea of post-humanism, where we actually don't live anymore as, well, people stop to be the center of the world, and we need to kind of find how we can build horizontal relationships with non-human species, with technological species, and to reinvent these relationships. But also, we're very inspired by ideas of Timothy Morton, who writes a lot about this new ecology and how we can reimagine our relations with Earth. And one of the most important starting points in our projects is his idea of hyperobjects. So in his book Hyperobjects, he writes that there are such big notions that media and science operates, like climate change or mass extinction. And they are so huge that they become abstract. We cannot really grasp those. And this gave us an idea that maybe if we cannot grasp it through scientific approach, maybe we can try and grasp it through artistic endeavors, right? Because art is something that can give meaning to things that are very hard to feel empathy towards, that are very hard to kind of grasp on their own, because art tells stories. So we came up with this idea that, okay, if we live in this post-natural world where nature cannot be approached anymore by regular science, or it cannot be approached like it was approached, I don't know, in the previous philosophical movements where we thought that nature is something very pure, very distant from a human. How can we try and reintegrate nature and natural narratives into our everyday life? And we came up with the idea of nature-driven technologies. So our main kind of motivation around it was that technology is not neutral, and we all know it. But technology is not bad by design. Technology is made bad by people who use it, by companies who use it for extraction, by the ideas of domination, and all of those ideas that now we're trying to rethink of, right? And what if we try to reimagine more natural technologies, technologies that can imitate natural processes, that can act as nature? And we are thinking that throughout this kind of integration of technology within art, we can actually try and understand nature better. And as I told before, we are working within art and science field, or art, science, and technology, as it's also called. But what we are trying to pioneer, in a way, we are trying to integrate those ideas into public art domain, because there are many wonderful, amazing artists who've been working in the field of art and science since the second half of the 20th century. However, there are not so many examples of this kind of art going public and trying to reconnect people with nature. And this was our main idea. So here I want to start talking about our projects. And just to give you this idea of how we are trying to build this dialogue with nature through art and through sculptural work. So this is a project that is called Solux, and it is created of willow branches. We work a lot with natural materials, and willow is one of our most used materials. So this is basically vertical willow structures that were inspired by the form of reeds that grow in lakes. And each reed is equipped with a special sensor, and this sensor can actually feel the sway of those reeds. And the sculpture, it has two modes of existence. One, it is obviously interaction with people, because the sculpture would react if you try to touch it. But second, and actually the more important to us, is that it can reconnect with the environment, because when there is no people around and people are not touching the sculpture, it can detect wind, it can detect the flux of water if it's positioned in water. I don't see, yeah, I think here we have it in water. And it becomes a way of giving something that's very hard to grasp, giving it an emotional dimension, because through neural networks that are integrated into those sculptures, neural networks kind of read the movement of those reeds and transfers into light and sound. And I'm going to show a small video of how it works. So this one was exhibited in Singapore, and there is not a lot of wind there, actually. So it was mostly interactive when people came. And it is also something that we really like, because we were hoping that it will be swayed by wind, but nature is very different from the Europe there, and almost no wind. However, during the night there was some. And another place where we exhibited, it was in the water, and here we would see pretty much different sound and pretty much different picture, because they had some little springs in this river, and sound is much more intensive here. I'll make it. So yeah, for us it gives this new dimension to how public art can actually exist. It can exist not only in the presence of people, but it can also exist without the presence of people, and can be in dialogue with the environment, and can actually change with the environment and show us those different things in the environment that we rarely think about, right? We rarely think about how the water flows, or some underwater currents go, or how the wind flows, if of course it's kind of not a typhoon or something, right? It's just something that is present here. And by giving this some kind of physical presence in our reality, we actually try and grasp this relationship with the nature. Another huge series, and one of the sculptures that we'll be able to see here today, called Nidium series. So this is a project that was inspired by the word Nidium, which from Latin translates both as nest and home. And we really like this idea that this word both captures kind of idea of something very natural and phenomenon of nature, like a home of a bird, right? But also like a home for people. And we started to think about it, that birds are actually one of the most adapted species who can live together with humans and actually thrive in big cities. However, they are very often overlooked, or even we're saying something like chicken brains, right? Or that they're flying rats or something because they're maybe not so pleasant to us at times. So we decided that maybe through working with ornithologists and with birds, we can create this new image of planet as kind of shared home that we share both with non-human species and, of course, with humans. And we created a series that consists now of 3 sculptures. This one here is Nidium 3 and 5. It is 3 and 5 meters in diameter, and it sings with birds that we recorded around Europe. And actually, it also has some kind of emotional barometer, as I usually say, embedded inside. It has a system of microphones that analyze the level of noise around it and analyze kind of emotional patterns around it. If people are acting aggressively around it, it kind of goes to sleep and stops communicating with us. And if we're nice around, if the noise level is not triggering to the nature, and this we also worked with scientists on, like what level of noise would be okay for birds in the cities, because they're adapted to noise, obviously, right? And we created this responsive system that obviously shares this idea, right, that planet is a shared home and that we need to treat it respectfully. And I will show a small video of how it was exhibited. So the other piece in this series, the one that is exhibited in Oeno Gallery, thank you so much, is smaller one. It is 1.5 meters, and we actually brought it here from Italy. Thanks, Dana, a lot for helping with that. No, it was a real challenge. And this piece obviously has the same general idea. However, it has a little difference in interactivity mode. So within this piece, we embedded neural networks that are, through the system of microphones, reading our speech, and the nest becomes audio reactive. So it reacts to how we speak to it and kind of answers us back with the bird's language. And now we're working with scientists to make it even more scientific, because now it's very speculative, it's audio reactive. So basically it kind of repeats the patterns of our voice and sings back to us. But what we're doing now with scientists, and I think it will take a couple of years, we're trying to actually analyze the types of calls that birds have and try to create this translator from human speech to bird language and back. So we could be able to do it like in a next piece that we're going to do. But with AI and this kind of research, it takes a lot of time. So I think, yeah, we're going to be able to introduce it in a couple of years. However, that really excites me, and I think that it will be insanely cool to have this kind of translator embedded within the sculpture. And this is little videos. I'm going to show it because I think that we'll have a lot of sun and it will be hard to see. And this is actually here in Oeno Gallery, yeah, the other day. So the third sculpture in the series is called Black Nidium, and it kind of takes more darker turn. So within this sculpture, we were working with ornithologists on trying to create a poetical monument to the lost voices. So we worked with ornithologists and tried to gather recordings of birds that gone extinct or considered to be extinct, because sometimes it takes up to 50 years for ornithologists to actually confirm that the bird species is extinct. Sometimes they just turn up out of nowhere, thankfully. And we collected 14 different species, and those recordings, they're usually of very bad and poor quality. So our team worked in order to kind of make the birds singing very clean. And then we put it in generative algorithm. We couldn't put it in AI because there was not enough data, not enough birds recorded in order to AI to learn to kind of reinterpret those voices. However, with the generative algorithms and machine learning that we used, we were able to kind of recreate those singings and make them sing again. But for us, it was also very important to put some critical stance on it, because as you saw, our projects are critical but not very alarming. That's also part of what we're trying to do. We're trying to kind of say that with an empathy and care and kind of mild things, mild steps that we can take, we can actually help nature. And we don't need to be afraid of taking the first step. But because this project was about the sixth mass extinction, obviously we could not just recreate those voices. So what we did, we made this sculpture, as we call it, performative. It has inside embedded API, which scans the sky above it, and if aircraft flies above the nest, it goes to an alarming mode. So airplanes, right, it's a huge pain for ecology in general, but also they usually go in this huge disdain with birds. Birds are both very scary to us when we think about airplanes, right? Because we don't want birds around airplanes, so there wouldn't be any airplane crash. However, because of that, we're actually destroying a lot of birds' habitats, and we're actively destroying their migration paths, and it is very, very harmful for them. And what I see is a really bitter irony is that the idea of airplane actually came from birds, right? So the idea of aviation was inspired by nature in itself. So with this project, we have this, here we have the whole birds listed, have this kind of environmental trigger, because when we exhibit it in different locations, we can actually see how many airplanes are kind of in the air. Because, for example, in Malta, this project, it sings with birds, and it's very beautiful. However, when we took it to Istanbul, which is a huge aviational hub, it was crazy. It was almost all the time in this alarming mode. And I'm going to show in the video how it works. Oh, sorry. So this is a regular mode. And now you see it's building up. Those crows are also extinct crows. Yeah, and then it kind of goes blank for some time, and after that, the whole cycle restarts, and based on how many airplanes is in the area, it is very differently. So another project that we also exhibit here is Project Megalith, and Dana shows me that we don't have a lot of time left, so maybe I'll present it when we go and see it, and just keep it for now and show two of our other projects. This is the project Fluxate. It is the biggest sculpture that we've done yet. It is 7 meters high. And within this project, we tried to work with cosmic weather. So our idea was that because of the sun and the cosmic weather, many of processes on Earth depend. First of all, because of our positioning on Earth, right, and our positioning towards the sun, the life itself was kind of created here. And throughout the years, when the planet existed already, many of the climatic changes like ice period and those kind of things happened because of the changes in the cosmic weather. And this is something that deeply influenced our life on Earth. However, this also influences us as people because sometimes we feel very poorly if there are geomagnetic events happening on sun and our technology starts glitching. But as humans, we don't have any sensorial apparatus to kind of feel that. We only feel the after effect, and we cannot say for sure that this is because of some cosmic weather. So we decided that we will try and catch this invisible force that influences us all the time throughout our whole lives and create this kind of translator that will translate this cosmic weather data to music and sound. And we created a kind of musical instrument, which you can see here. It is created in the program that is called Max MSP, and it is a program that many sound artists are using right now, where you can actually create your own musical instruments through generative algorithms. And we see here this hexagon, and it is actually this musical instrument. It's how music is created here depends on the data. So, for example, when the solar winds are pretty high, this hexagon starts to move real quickly, and then the particles inside that are represented by the magnetic fields, they start to hit those kind of lines differently, and the different music happens. The whole sculpture, it's created not in minor and major modes that we usually now use in musical systems, but in the Greek musical system, it changes from Lydian to Mixolydian modes, which represent the different kind of atmosphere that we can gather from translating the data into music. And through these different modes changing, we can actually by looking at the sculpture, see what is happening with the cosmic weather and how many magnetic vibes right now are on Earth and how they're kind of acting at us. So the sculpture takes data in real time from open source data and translates it into music and light, and I will just show a few videos as well. So when the weather is, like the cosmic weather is pretty nice, it is more like this musical composition is more harmonious. And when it's kind of in a dissonance, it shows that the solar winds and the magnetic fields are quite inactive. So, last project that I'm going to show is the project where we try to recreate the new idea of how we can actually create sculptures and kind of to take the author outside of the process whole. So we created the system that through the sandblasting technology tried to recreate the weathering of the stones. The weathering of the stones is a process that creates beautiful rocks in nature, but it takes millions of years. And we decided, what if we can try and compress this time in a way and to do it in 1 month? And we suggested, this project was presented at the exhibition that was dedicated to future of artificial technology. And we suggested visitors of the exhibition to come and share their fears and ideas about artificial technology. And those data was retranslated to the sculpture in real time. So it was kind of being created for a month within exhibition space. And
in the future of AI.
yeah, and after we had nothing happens. 1 second.
Humans look like. The core of data realm is the algorithm for creating a cast of modernity. Translating data into physical form is a dialogue about modern culture and the relationship between people and AI. The process of creating data relic itself is part of a dialogue about who shapes culture. The final appearance of the stone will reflect the collective perception of neural networks today. Like ancient relics that preserve the culture of past eras, data relic will become a testimony of our time. In the first days, we have already received more than 1 million responses with diverse opinions about neural networks. Only a third of participants have expressed complete trust in them. This shows how significant the current moment is. We are standing at the beginning of the path of AI development. Our projects help us understand AI and reduce anxiety as technologies continue to evolve and become an integral part of our reality.
And I just want to show the result. This part was sandblasted when people were telling that they trust humans more. And, oh, sorry, I didn't have the other part. And the other part, which was much less sandblasted, it was kind of inversion. So if that part was sandblasted on that side, it meant that on the other side, it would become intact. So we see that still technology kind of gives us, I don't know, some uncanny valley vibes, and it kind of scares us what we're going to do with it. However, yeah, in our projects, we really believe that if we kind of repurpose technology and make it serve nature and serve our needs in a way with empathic and careful relations towards our planet, we can actually, yeah, change the planet. And that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Look close to me.
Yeah.
So our plan is to take you on a short tour to see megalith and Nidium, which are installed at Oeno Gallery, one in the front and one in the sculpture garden. But do you have any questions before we go on our walk for Khristina?
Is most of your art that has been already installed in cities as
Yeah.
opposed to in
Yeah.
country setting?
Well,
That implies,
on a regular basis, yes. However, we participated in several festivals that were kind of outdoors in more kind of serene natural environments. And for us, it's like the best place for our artworks in a way, because they feel like home when we exhibit them.
do you have any kind of barometer for judging the difference in the reaction between an urban and a rural setting? Because, we're surrounded by nature.
Yeah, yeah.
On the water. I can hear the water, I can hear the birds. I've got foxes and wolves.
That is true. That is true.
So I don't have to imagine anything, I live in it.
That is true. Yes, of course. This kind of art, when it is exhibited in big cities, it kind of gives you not only the idea of a dialogue with nature, but also a glimpse of nature, which you probably very crave. And I didn't mention it, but we mostly work with natural sounds and natural spectrum of light, which mimics the sun and the colors that we can actually see in nature. And psychologically, it acts very soothingly on us. And within the environment of urban cities, obviously, it kind of has this additional meaning that acts as, I don't know, like soothing us and bringing this idea of nature closer. However, I think that throughout the interactivity of our projects, when they're exhibited in nature, they kind of also broaden up, you know, the idea, because you stop being mere observer of nature and you kind of try and come to, I don't know, talk to it through tactile interaction, through verbal interaction, and it kind of opens up different dimension of how we can try and be with nature, not just, I don't know, listen to birds, but maybe to know a little bit more and to try and connect with them in some meaningful way.
Are you going to do, or have you done any research? Like, I'd love to see a person's interaction with bees,
Yeah.
and then compared to a person who lives out in nature and really is experiencing nature, like the effects on our brains and our emotions. Is it the same, or is it completely different?
And I wonder about different
Yeah.
cultures. I mean, for example, would an indigenous person
Yeah.
have the same response as?
Yeah, probably. This context, yeah, we've never had
It'd be
before.
fascinating.
Yeah, we've never had before this context. It would be very interesting. However, for example, when we exhibited in Singapore, where there is not a lot of wild nature and it's a huge urban city, I think people were kind of fascinated, yeah, by the idea that you can kind of recreate with the technology, like bring this new post-natural something, some entity, some living entity into the city that can give this access to something that you cannot really have in Singapore, because it's quite hard to find, right, wild nature environment there.
So it's stimulated by, that one up here is stimulated by voice,
Yeah.
like by human voice.
Yes. However, I need to give a small disclaimer. While it was traveling from Italy, the microphone broke. And because there was a long holidays here, the microphone still did not come. So we're waiting Amazon delivery today, and I hope that by tomorrow morning I will be able to install it and we will be able to talk to it. So tomorrow we won't be able to talk to it, unfortunately, today. But I hope that yes, as of tomorrow, we'll be able to kind of go into this dialogue. Now it is also generated by neural networks, but in kind of automatic mode, right?
This is a temporary exhibition, what you're talking about. One of these is a temporary exhibition.
Uh,
In a sense, like, I'm very interested to know,
Yeah.
I know you're working with scientists, but what effect do this technology has on the actual environment?
Yeah, it has effect in terms of electricity that it contains. Yeah, but within, so we've never kind of put, for example, Solux in real living water environments. So the project that you saw, it was artificial one without any kind of life within it. Probably there was like bacterial life, but not like no fish, for example. So obviously, yes, we would not like to install it in, I don't know, a real pond with some fish, of course it would disturb them a lot. However, for example, with birds, before doing this Nidium series, we were consulting with ornithologists, and we were worried if this might disturb them. So what we usually, first of all, they told that no, probably it won't disturb them because they communicate a lot and they kind of triggered by the sounds that are important to them, and those are generated by neural networks. So they actually don't really kind of mean anything to birds, you know, because they're kind of post-natural ones. We're not, and it was deliberate that we would not put inside those recordings like call to mate or ask for help, those kind of stuff. So that we
Birds of prey.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, but
In vineyards here, a number of people not only have cannons to make the birds
Yeah.
know once the grapes are ripe, you know,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
devastate them. So a number of people as an alternative to the cannons, which are not
Yeah.
so fun for us.
Yeah.
Every 10
Yeah.
seconds, they have recordings
Mm-hmm.
of birds of prey,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
it
really
scares
works
them
well.
away. Yeah,
Yeah,
And birds in distress.
birds of distress and birds of prey. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But those are kind of like not real birds calls. In it's an imitation, so it helps. But of course, like ornithologists told us, well, you have a nice idea and you want to kind of give eco-awareness to people, you should do it. But just don't put it like in a forest where birds didn't hear any artificial sounds before. Because yes, if you do that, if you go in the wildlife environment, of course it will distress them. But anything will do. I know a flashlight will do, right? So for birds who are kind of adapted to living with us and to city lights, or it works fine. But also we turn it off during the night usually, right? So it's not really kind of in this dialogue. However, when it's exhibited in the city, we like, I don't know, we tune it down, but we don't turn it off. But here we turn it off, I think after 10. Yeah, we agreed with Dana. Yeah, so after 10, birds won't be disturbed. Yeah, should we go? So this is the project from the series Megalith. And within this project, like it started out with the idea, can we try and feel empathy towards a stone? And there is this biologist, Jakob von Exkel, who proposed the idea of Umwelt. I don't know if you know about this idea. So this idea of Umwelt is that each being, each non-human being, has its own subjective perception of reality that is formed by the sensorial system, the perception system, and it's impossible for other being to kind of enter the Umwelt of another being, kind of to feel what it means to be the other being. But by knowing a little more about their Umwelts, we can try and imagine what it means to be, I don't know, an insect, right, or a lion. And here we decided, okay, what if we have this crazy idea, what is an Umwelt of a stone? Because stones have such a long and deep time that we cannot measure it by any biological kind of life, any protein life, as we might say. And we were thinking that probably stone lies for a long time and listens a lot, because stone can actually transmit vibrations. And we decided that we can make kind of musical instrument together with artificial intelligence out of a stone, and we created this interactive sculpture that you're all welcome to come and play with. So basically it reacts to different types of touch and creates different types of sounds, and you can play on it. It creates different sounds, so when you tap on it, it creates kind of bird sounds. If you slap it, it makes this thunder sounds. And kind of the more you play with it, the more the sound builds up. And I don't know, it helps us just to access what stone has been listening for, I don't know, millions of years probably. So I really like this one, yeah, because it's kind of, I don't know, this really silly and funny idea, but at the same time, it's with the tactile interaction, it gives you this other uh, access to nature. If anyone wants to try.
What kind of stone?
This is a local stone. This is granite. We also worked with granite, but ours is gray granite, and here we have red granite. But Zach knows all about it. Yeah.
So what did you do here to make it respond to traction sound?
It has embedded inside two types of microphones. It's a piezo,
So it's embedded inside.
yeah, from the other side. Piezo microphone and geophone that we're usually using to listen to what's happening under the earth or inside the water. And we also have four types of neural networks. One trying to identify the type of touch and the place where you touch it on the stone. Two others, they try to dissect all of the other sounds. So for example, if we're clapping right now, it wouldn't be reacting, however, it has microphones. So it only reacts to kind of touch. And another one is to kind of send signal to this Maximus key program that creates the sound composition out of it.
But you touch it with your hand. If I touch it with my hand, is it the same reaction?
Yeah. Maybe a little bit different because I don't know. Maybe you will slap it harder or
No.
less.
No, I was saying whether it's clever enough to identify you as.
No, it's not clever enough yet. No. But yeah, we might work on it. It will be like personal pet, you know.
Yes, yeah.
It is just a sound that resembles a fire or something, and just from the interaction with people who experience this project, we got an idea that we actually need to have some kind of sound that is happening around the stone, so people got interested and come to it. Because if it's just lying, you just cannot make your own mind about it. So yeah, when you hear the sound and you're like, "What's happening?" and you looking at it differently. Yeah? Nobody wants to? You can try it with another rock if you want, because it might be a little bit hard on your palms. Yeah, don't be afraid. And we actually had several performances with this piece where our sound artists were kind of playing on it. And we, for the performances, expanded the data set a little bit with the sound. So, should we go and see the Nidium? Which way? Should we go that way?
Yeah, if you haven't had
Yeah, Trevor. Yeah, you go. Thank you. So, unfortunately, a lot of sun, like not unfortunately, fortunately, a lot of sun is here.
Come closer,
Uh,
you can see in my shadow.
But we can hear a little bit birds, and obviously throughout the evening it's time, right? Because it's a light piece. It looks very differently.
So fascinating. I love that.
You can see it lighting up from the interior.
Yeah, you're making a good shadow. Thank you.
Yeah.
We were placing it here because we were thinking that there will be a lot of shadowing, like between the trees, but light moves so fast.
How long did it take to make from start to completion?
This one? Actually, it's pretty fast, I think, because now we have the technology and we created the big one. The big one was a challenge. And this one we can create, I think, around 2 weeks, like the physical form. However, if we talk about technology, it's a little longer. If we're creating a new neural network, then it takes, I don't know, at least a month to train it. But I think even more, usually.
It's amazing to think you have to train a sculpture, right? Like
Yeah.
Train your
Yeah.
Human word.
instead of the paintbrush or your chisel, you spend time
But yeah, because it's
Training.
kind of not not programmed, but trained, it changes unexpectedly, and this is what makes it very hypnotic, especially during the evening. You cannot really expect how light would spread, the intensity of it, the speed of it. So this, I think, going back to the idea of AI, that AI is not only, I don't know, here to, like, it's not producing knowledge, you know, it's kind of giving us different kinds of types of new access to knowledge, but it cannot produce knowledge. But we can do amazing things with AI. So many scientists right now using AI.
It connects knowledge.
Yeah,
Really.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. Oh, you look like a little crow. Yeah. Sorry.
So this one is not reacting to wind or
Yeah,
wind
it
going through
as if tomorrow, I hope if microphones arrive today, it will be reacting to human speech. So you will be able to come and speak to it, and it will kind of speak to you back.
With
And
bird sounds?
yeah, with bird sounds and with light. But I think that even throughout the day, it will be nice, even if you can't see the lights, but you will see kind of birds responding. It would be pretty cool. But also, when we exhibited it in Italy, it was exhibited next to the road. So it was not only kind of responding to people talking to it, but as well to the environment, you know, to some cars, and it would be like, oh, the car moved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they machine made, or is there any handmade element to this? Because you're using a lot of natural materials.
No, it's all handmade. Yeah. I think, I'm not sure, but I think that even the last strip was kind of repurposed and remade by our light artists, I think. But all of this is hand woven.
Yeah. This is willow.
Yeah.
Branch, yes. And then the computers, you're building your own super computer.
Yeah. We're building our computers.
And right now it's being powered by solar power.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
about kind of how the environmental impacts of AI.
Environmental impact of AI is huge if you are kind of using it, I don't know, to ask ChatGPT and to say thank you. Yeah, when you say thank you to GPT, you are actually wasting a lot of energy, right? However, like what we are doing is not this huge capitalistic platforms. It's, I don't know, we train it in our computers in-house. We don't need huge computers to do it. So it's basically the same as, I don't know, as generative algorithm or usual coding. And when we have access to, I don't know, some kind of rechargeable technologies, like solar panels or something like we're doing here, I think it's not like taking up so many energy, right?
Right.
So
Low impact.
Is that part of the discussion though, like when you're kind of eliciting, I guess,
yeah,
thoughts and discussions about AI?
yeah.
Is that part of the
No, we think about it a lot, but we also kind of going into this kind of compromise with ourselves, because we understand that we see from the communication of people with projects that when they have interactive mode, it actually helps like any people. It's no 0+, you know, a child can interact with it, and it gives the other kind of access of this otherwise very scary and closed kind of ecological knowledge. Oh no, thank you, I'm fine. Because many people have been sharing that while they were interacting with our sculptures, that they're really afraid to think of ecology in general, you know, because we try not to think about it. Because it's frightening. However, when I think you're accessing it through some emotional domain, it's easier to start care on small things like birds. Maybe next time, I don't know, when you will see a bird, you will be interested in what bird it is and how it is, I don't know, operates in life. Because
Everybody here is a birder.
yeah, but yeah,
Here.
of course, in the county probably, because you all live in this nice natural.
Very, high density migration path is
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's amazing, but it's not like this in big cities, I think. I don't know. In Canada, I wouldn't judge.
I can imagine it's not.
Yeah.
Here in big cities here.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
offering comfort, I think is what you're
Yeah,
doing, right?
in a way, yeah, in a way, we try to do that.
So, sorry, the real birds being affected by this?
No,
One, they come here, hey, there's a sister here, or
no, it doesn't have, as I told before. So those are kind of artificial calls of birds. We don't really use like an actual bird calls, so they wouldn't be affected, and that we can minimize. But they're not coming here. If they would be affected, probably they would be, I don't know, gathering around here or something. So at least that's like what we've been discussing with our team of ornithologists with whom we consulted before.
no, I wasn't implying that they scared the birds away.
Yeah, no. I understand, but there were there were concerns there. We were thinking about it a lot. We had one idea of one project that we were thinking that we could kind of save hollow trees by creating some kind of a silicone, like not silicone, but glass patches that would go on the trees and would kind of close the holes in the trees and would help them to live longer. And then we went to one biologist and she said, oh yeah, this is genius, this would be really, really cool. And then we went to dendrologist and he told, I don't know, you need to go to phytopathologist, the person who kind of works with how the trees can regenerate. And then he was like, oh my god, please don't do that, no, it will be really, really bad, like this holes, they kind of, you need them to breathe and birds live there and it's like the whole ecosystem. And we're like, okay, we're not doing this project, it was very beautiful but let's not do that. So we try to consult as many as we can.
Experts in all different fields. It sounds like.
Yeah. Before trying and bringing it
Of course.
to the environment, because if we would be doing this kind of in a closed environment, not as public art but as gallery, we wouldn't care, like birds wouldn't be affected or anyone would be affected, but we try to imagine it in public art settings.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Really
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very, very happy.
It was a pleasure listening to you. Understanding the way AI and technology is affecting us and how it's growing, and whether we like it or not, it's happening, and it's nice to hear how we can integrate it into nature, into our artwork, into our daily lives, and respect it in a positive way.
No, but I really think that technology really it really depends on who is using it. So this is right. There's no bad technology at all. Like it really depends on how and why we're using it. Yeah.
Well, the problem is that there usually is a downside, a bad side.
Yeah.
To everything.
All technologies that have evolved have
Yeah.
eventually for something positive, but then there's always been a
Yeah, but actually, many of technology was initially for something really bad, like computation, right? It was purely military technology, and most of technology actually come from something bad at first. But now, especially I think with a lot of help of artists, at least I believe so. Yeah, but I think going back in art history, we're seeing how many artists and of course philosophers try to reimagine technology and show new ways of how it can enter our life in a more kind of peaceful scenarios. So
from the scientific perspective, I knew a lot of researchers that were all very creative people, but they're stuck in the data world.
That's true.
I'm sure they love the opportunity that you guys present.
Yeah, that is true.
And create something as opposed to just observe.
I love that about our work. Yeah, I love that you can meet scientists who are also creative, and they're like, we were craving to do something together with someone for years, but we have these grants, and because if you're an artist, you can do like anything. You don't have to have a purpose, right? As opposed to
publish very cool.
And you need to kind of create something good out of your field of knowledge. So yeah, that's what I really like when scientists. Sometimes scientists, of course, are like, you're doing something very crazy, and we don't want to participate in it. It's weird. Bye.
So at some point in the future, this will be close, accidentally close to a chicken farm.
Yeah.
Egg production will go up, and they go, whoa,
Oh.
okay. Yeah. And then,
All right, so they will repurpose our technology.
You're doing this here. Or they'll start using the willow for their own nest.
Yes, this is my fear. They'll start stealing, the birds will steal your willow for their own nest.
Oh, that would be
Yeah.
fun. That
Yeah.
would be cool.
Yeah.
I would love that
Yeah.
if they would start doing that.
Especially in the spring and all our sculptures.
Yeah.
Yes, we find nests all the time.
Oh, yeah. So they all go into dialogue with nature. No. Or maybe, they will just turn it, flip it over and just start nesting within. Yeah.
This is the other thing. They probably will find a
It's
way.
bigger.
Is this piece dangerous?
Yeah. So we represent SPLACES.STUDIO.
Yeah.
These are the first 2 inaugural pieces we have here. They are for sale. Khristina showed you examples of different sizes, right?
Yeah.
And for different purposes. So we hope to appeal to public institutions. I work with cities. I work with developments all over the world. I work with personal collectors. We work internationally. So this is sort of a foray into kind of the commercial art world, and it is sort of commodifying it, but in the same sense, artists need to make their living too, and
We are happy to commodify.
Exactly. We want to share.
No, in a way, of course. Because,
Creation.
you created your piece, and then if it stays just within the studio, it's very sad, right? You want to do something new, but
to live on.
yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with our project that are interactive with environment or people, they kind of need to be out.
Of
If
course.
they're just stuck inside, they're just, I don't know, talking to each other. Sometimes
Yeah.
actually they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that idea to be able to be collective. I think that's very cool.
Yeah, it helps a lot. It helps a lot to kind of make the project stronger and more fast, because we're only 2 years old and we have as many projects as we do. Because we work very fast.
All these brains working together.
Yeah, it's like
for one
a
goal.
little bit of industry, because we start while our, I don't know, artistic team, I mean the craftsmen people, are creating the piece that we have already imagined and created a concept for. We can go to kind of researching the next idea, and it's just always on the go. So.
How does that fare in the winter? You have to turn it off?
No. It should be fine. Yeah. We'll see here. But we showed it during the winter in Italy, and it was like absolutely perfect. But it's has IP67, so it should be nice and
Safe.
and safe.
Spring.
It might
Yeah.
even spread in the spring.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah, it
takes
will
the
be
roots.
beautiful.
How
It will be
beautiful.
beautiful.
Oh,
Like
thank you,
Bernini
Khristina.
sculptures, like it will be having those. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.